This will be the last part of my series on mediumship and spiritualism. Last one for now, anyway. And for this experience, I'm actually going to go back to 2021. So 2021, I was in the middle of my congressional campaign, and we organized a march for healthcare justice, just to keep things as simple as possible, because obviously I'm not here to talk about my campaign. But this was how I met Ivory. So we reached out to different groups for speakers, one of them being the transgender district. And so they sent a speaker, and Ivory came to support the person who spoke. I'm not going to assign this person a pseudonym, and this individual is not the individual who ended up speaking is not relevant to the story. Anyway, so I met Ivory again in the middle of my campaign. She purely came to support her girl who was speaking, and we kind of hit it off. I was like, oh my God, like, you're really cool. And it was one of those things where, like, I started seeing her everywhere. Like, I realized we had a ton of friends in common. The one friend I'm going to talk about in this video, we're going to call this person Sean. So one of my favorite memories was actually Sean had a Friendsgiving at their house, and either shortly before or at that Friendsgiving, I realized that Ivory and I had this friend in common, and it was like, I don't know, it was super exciting. And I'm not trying to flex that I knew Ivory super well, because that's not the case at all. I knew her to be a very positive person who, for me, it was like, just based on the fact that, like, all these people that I know, like, in my mind, that's kind of giving, like, you have a good reputation, like, you're a good person. And again, vibes, right? So my favorite memory with Ivory was we both attended, I believe it was Transgender Day of Visibility. So it was Transgender Day of Remembrance. So there's two. There's T-Dove and then there's T-Door, right? So we attended Transgender Day of Remembrance, and it started out with a vigil in front of City Hall. And I remember we both got there and we realized that, like, oh, like, we're the only, we know each other, like, let's just hang out together. So we were by each other's sides the rest of the evening. And I'm gonna be completely honest, we were talking mess. There was an elected official who I am not a very big fan of. I'm 6'4". This individual is an inch taller than me and just as broken wristed. So apparently they tried to seat this guy behind us, and this all happened so quickly that I didn't realize it until she brought it up afterwards. But they tried to seat this guy behind us, and then I remember as he came in, he recognized Ivory and said hi to her by name, okay? And then afterwards, again, I didn't even notice the interaction that happened, but Ivory actually brought it up and was like, so I need to know what's the deal between you and so-and-so. And again, I didn't even realize what had happened. But so anyway, so after the ceremony and after the vigil, we went to the Haight afterwards, and we got a bite to eat. And I just remember that as being like one of my favorite memories with her. Like, we talked about building credit. We talked about entrepreneurship. Like, girl had been to all these different countries, had a trip planned to Greece at the currently. Like, we had both been to Puerto Rico. We talked like that was, again, probably my favorite memory with Ivory, where I really, really got to know her. And when and maybe we're at this point maybe 2 years after. So we're, let's say, 2023, right? So beginning of 2023. So I realized at this point that she would be a great tour guide. So I proposed, and I knew that she was a hustler. I knew that she was about her money. I mean, she lived by herself. Like, Ivory really had a lot of like things going for her. Like, anyway. So, she trained on the Fisherman's Wharf tour, which is the super touristy part of San Francisco. So everybody trains on that one as they begin. And then Mission, Castro, like, she had literally was to the point of where she was about to like lead her tour. Like, I was going to shadow her and she was going to be approved and then start running her own tours. So for the second two, Castro and Mission, those are tours that are a little bit more personal to me and my communities, and those are not tours that I would just trust to anybody. So Ivory would have been the perfect person. So I'll never forget the day last week of January 2023. I'm leaving a place in the Castro, and I had put my foot up on a bench to tie my shoe when I get a phone call from Sean. And immediately, I pick up the phone and I'm just like, hey, what's up? Like, what's tea? Like, what's going on? You know, this is my friend, right? Like, you know, we hang around and do hood rat shit, right? My heart dropped and I had to immediately take a seat when they told me that Ivory had passed away.